Have a hippo looking very much like a boulder in the river here. Now, there's not too much going on the cams at the moment, so I'm going to actually invite all of you to send through your questions and your comments and all of that, and any random questions that you may have that, like last week, we had the question about wild dogs and domestic dogs mating and producing offspring. So if you have random questions like that, send them through. But of course, whatever we can find on the cams will be gold. Here we have our hippo. You can actually see that it's sitting in quite a nice spot in the river where there's a bit of flow. I wonder if that's similar to like sitting in a pool, near where the jets are, whether it is pleasurable for the hippo. It looks pretty overcast as well, so that means that it's able to expose part of its body and not suffer from any kind of dehydration or desiccation, which their skin is very sensitive to. Oh, there's some little nostrils coming up, and I hope it does it again because you'll notice the nostrils are not round. The nostrils are kind of oval shaped, kind of like an almond, and it shuts just as the hippo goes down, so no water can get into the nostril. And you can see it happen because the nostrils are really large as well. So I hope that it'll pick its head up one more time, and then if it puts it down again, we'll be able to see that they actually close. Very cool. Anyway, we have some hellos. I love getting my hellos from all of you. Aussie Jan 2, you say good morning from down under. And coffee time. Ooh, coffee time. It seems a little late for coffee. Aussie Jan, down under at least. And then we have Rolling Trouble. You say hi, Trishana, from a less hot WA. Thanks, everyone. Oh, the head's up again. You'll see the pink disappear. There we go. So the pink is the inside of the nostril, and just before it heads down again to submerge its head fully, those nostrils close up and you can no longer see the pink. I think it's such a wonderful adaptation to be able to have that kind of, so consciously it doesn't have control over that. It's linked to sensory nerves around the area that are able to control or contract in order for the nostrils to close like that. But it's so clever. Nature is like that. It's very clever. Many a time you'll see hippos lying around like this and they kind of just look like boulders. There's a couple times I mistook, so often it's not so much that's shown, the whole back. Sometimes it's just a little bit, and then I got really excited once and I thought it was just the nose that was pointing, like popping out of the water, but it was just a dung that was floating in the dam. Mary Momo, you say hi, Trish, from a sweltering hot springs. Hello to you. And we've got Bob from Kalamazoo saying, good day, lovely. Lovely, Trisha. Good day, lovely, Bob, to you. So if you did at the beginning when I said we don't have a lot happening, it's always wonderful to be in the bush and actually spend time watching things, and we'll chat about a whole lot of other stuff that we don't usually get to focus on, but send through any strange questions that you, and then we can have some cool discussions. Oh no. Oh, this is making me very excited. Obviously, because it's elephants, and they weren't in the cam earlier, and I was so hoping for elephants to come through. But also, it's two youngish males. So I'm going to be quiet. We might hear their tusks clashing. Unlucky. I say these are youngish males because they don't look like they're over 20. Or you can kind of just catch a hint of the tusks knocking there. So these would be two males that have been out of their natal herds for quite some time, at least 5 years out of their herd. So once that happens, those males form bachelor herds. And those are very small bachelor herds. They're not usually larger than, say, 5 individuals. And most of the time, when they're older than this, then they're just solitary. But it is in the space of these bachelor herds that they're able to, here's another one. This one looks a little bit old. In the bachelor herds, they're able to do things like we're seeing right now. Play fight, figure out where their boundaries are, figure out what hurts. This one here is quite small, but all males. Oh, Aussie Jan, you say the coffee is a supplement to wake you up. I hope you can get to bed after that, Aussie Jan. Gardenia, you say hello. You're also enjoying a coffee in Toronto, so you and Aussie Jan enjoying a cup of coffee. And you say you so enjoy Explore in these weekly chats. You learn so much. Many hugs and thanks for us sharing. Our absolute pleasure. We love to be able to bring the bush to you wherever you are in the world. So I think, oh, let's listen for a moment. The sound of that beautiful water. So it seems as though a herd has already moved through here and could be coming through again. I say that because there's a lot of elephant dung around at the moment. So after some time, that dung gets kind of very quickly flattened and it's not so apparent. So that means that quite recently a herd would have moved through here. This is quite a big bachelor herd, I must say. I don't usually see them this large. We have at least 7, I think. Ranging in sizes, there's definitely 2 bulls that are older than the others. And then most seem pretty much that 20-ish age, and there's one younger one as well. Queen Cersei, you say hello from Mount Vernon, New York, USA. We watch every day in our kindergarten class. That is such a wonderful thing to hear. Please, if you have any questions from your kids, send them through too. I love teaching kids about wildlife. I think it's so important that we grow empathy for the natural environment from a young age. So if we have a look at the elephant on the left, you can see, so he's slightly older, one of the older ones. You can see how wide the distance between his tusks are. You can also see that he's the one that had his trunk draped over the one tusk. They can sometimes do that when they're uncomfortable, but you'll often see it with large older bulls that they do it just to ease the weight of carrying around this huge nose, of fused nose and upper lip. Oh, did you hear that? That's the sound I'm talking about. The clash of the tusks is an unmistakable sound. Now, if we're in an area where there's maybe elephant research going on, we will look for ways to identify elephants, and that can be easy for elephants like this one on the right here, who has a very obvious notch. I mean, notch would be an understatement. A rip that has healed. So that's a very obvious feature. So we can take note of this. So this male right ear has a huge cut in it. And maybe we'll see it again often. You can see that the bigger bull is definitely more dominant. So much so that he's now using this younger bull as a scratching post. Hi, Michael S. You'd like to know if there are alligators in the waters and will they attack elephants? So we don't get alligators in Africa. We only get alligators, well, I mean, we only get crocodiles in Africa. So very closely related, but not the same thing. So the alligators will be what you're used to seeing in the Americas. So here we get crocodiles, and in this particular area we would have Nile crocodiles, but it's usually quite obvious where they'd be. So if you go to a certain big dam and you know that you see a crocodile there, you'd probably see them there often. They do obviously move between water sources, but in smaller dams like this one, unless you know that there is an elephant or a crocodile around there, it's unlikely that there are any in there. And I certainly haven't seen any crocodiles in this particular dam. Wow, this is such a treat. Sorry, Michael, it's just to complete that question, or the answer to that question. Elephants, because they're the largest land mammal, and not only are they, huge, they also exist in herds. So the threat of injury to anything that attacks an elephant is huge, because you won't just have to contend with the elephant that you're trying to attack, but the herd as well. And it's not that you would get pierced by the tusk of an elephant, it's that you could get stepped on by the elephant and you've got all of a sudden 3,000 kgs or up to 6,000 kgs standing on you. So they have no natural predators, but they will have the risk of being injured by a crocodile. But the crocodile would always come off worse than elephants. Guys, this is such a treat. I mean, considering that when we were looking through the cams just before we started, there was nothing. So this is amazing. Queen Cersei, you say, woohoo, we're so excited right now. Yay, I'm so excited too. I hope the class is having a ball. And we all get to enjoy these elephants together. Hi, Gigi, you'd like to know if an elephant can survive without ears? It would be very difficult to get both ears off an elephant to start. So it's unlikely that would actually happen out in the wild. But I have seen an elephant, I mean, we suitably called her half ear because she had lost half of her ear, one of them. So that ear couldn't flap. The other ear could only flap. So there are injuries like that can happen, but it's unlikely that, both ears would totally be removed. So when we're talking about ears here, we mean the pinnae. So that is the exterior ear. So if that ear, the exterior part of the ear that funnels in sound, if that is damaged, oh, hello. Oh, I love when they do this. It's like they're saying hi to us. Hello. When the external part of the ear is damaged, the internal bits are still intact. They're totally fine. So the only thing that would really be difficult is being able to cool itself down, because remember, those ears are very, very large. Right? It's almost, in terms of surface area, 20% of the body. And it's through surface area that they're able to dissipate heat. And the ears are nice and thin for them to do that. So if an elephant has somehow lost both ears, it will have to change its behavior for it to regulate its heat, regulate its temperature better. And it could do that. It could maybe spend more time around water, more time mud wallowing, things like that. So this is interesting. The bull on the right there is putting its trunk underneath, right, this bull. So what it's doing is basically touching the underparts of the elephant, right, and probably touching for urine, because there's so many chemicals and hormones that are expressed in urine, that it will put it into its mouth after it's taken some urine, then it'll touch it into its mouth onto an organ called a vomeronasal organ. Now, we don't have that, but many animals in the bush have it. And what it does is it amplifies the chemical signatures in that urine. And so it can detect, is this female in estrus? Is this animal stressed? It can do things like that. It's mostly done to check if the female is in estrus. But again, this is a perfect example of what a bachelor herd is. Males of different ages coming together, they get to play fight, they get to practice, testing urine, because they'd only really do that to females. And you might even see them mounting each other, because it's all about getting to know what I have to do and how I've got to conduct myself when I meet a female who will be willing to mate with me. Sorry, Gigi, I got distracted when I saw that behavior. I wanted to chat to it. But in short, yes, they could survive if elephants didn't have the outside bit of the ear. It would just be a little bit of a different life. They'd have to change their behaviors in order to keep themselves cool. The other thing with that is, though, if there are significant injuries to both ears of an elephant, there's the risk of bleeding out because of the large blood vessels in the ears. So, if both of those injuries happen at the same time, that could be difficult to recover from. Oh, John, hi. That's a very nice question. You'd like to know, do elephants have best friends within the herd? Obviously, it's difficult to answer because we only know what we can see. And elephants communicate and interact in ways that we can't see or hear. And that includes chemical communication, like with the testing of the urine with that vomeronasal organ. And it also involves them communicating at sounds that are very low frequencies that we can't hear. So I can't say for sure that they have best friends within the herd, but there are bonds, some bonds that are closer than others. Oh, that sound. You might often see two particular adult bulls together, but I'm not sure if we could say that they're best friends, but I have definitely seen two bulls that hang around with each other constantly. So in this bachelor herd, they won't stay together indefinitely. Some might move off tomorrow, some might move off in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months. So this is not a permanent group, not really at all. I'm so glad that we get to see this, because this is not what we see every day. Normally, when we see groups of elephants, we're looking at a breeding herd where there's lots of babies and those kinds of interactions. And you can see that in this bachelor herd, how different it is. The behaviors are different, the interactions are different, and this is such a treat, such a great way to learn about elephants. Yeah, we've got the one in the middle with the trunk over the tusk again. Oh, rolling trouble, you say? Can you imagine if humans did that? Just stick your nose into the crotch and test. Get all sorts of information. I'm not sure how useful it would be for us. Maybe if we had a vomeronasal organ, it would be far more useful. So to activate the vomeronasal organ in other animals, it looks like the animal is opening its mouth and showing its teeth. You might have seen that. Sometimes you see it, like, when a horse is gonna neigh, it does that thing with its teeth and pulls its lip back. It looks like that. That's what it looks like when they're testing urine. But for elephants, they don't look exactly like that. They just touch it into their mouths. And that grimace, the pulling of the lip back, called a phlegm grimace. So this is interesting. Elephant is standing on 3 legs and the one leg is swinging. So there's a couple theories as to why this happens. Sometimes, and it makes a bit of sense, if you're familiar with triangulating a position of a signal or sound, if there's a triangle, you can tell quite easily which direction a sound or signal is coming from, because it's either going to hit the left side, the right side, or the flat side of the triangle. So one theory is that by elephants doing that, they can triangulate the position of some incoming sounds. Look at them sizing each other up. They're going to clash, but I want you to watch their trunks, because I always get nervous for them. It's like, imagine if the trunk gets, pushed against the tusk, and it just seems painful. But they are so careful. So careful. Jerome Doyle, you say elephant brotherhood. It is, isn't it? Temporary brotherhood, but a brotherhood nonetheless. And this is the largest bachelor herd I've ever seen. So Rolling Trouble, you were asking why do they stand with 3 feet at a time, sometimes? That's what I was explaining before about the triangulation. So if you're standing with all your feet on the ground, and you're a 4-legged animal, and sound comes, it can be difficult to figure out if it's coming from the front or from the sides. And if you triangulate the position, see like that, with one leg off the ground, and you're an elephant picking up vibrations, it may provide a better way for you to figure out which direction a sound is coming from. But that is a theory. Not my theory, but it is a theory by scientists who have done research specifically on elephant communication. The other theory is that there are inner ear bones that pick up these vibrations. It's actually not a separate theory, it's more in conjunction with the triangulation. The inner ear bones are vibrating, and by picking up the one leg, the one front leg, the other front leg is standing quite straight and is able to be they can position themselves for that front leg to be directly underneath those bones in the ear. And so they're able to channel those vibrations more easily straight up to the ear. But it's all still a bit of a mystery. I kind of love that. Because you know so much is going on, but you know that you don't know actually what's happening. Cindy, you'd like to know, do bulls fight to the death over breeding rights? It can happen, but it doesn't happen very frequently. So there we go. We've got some practice mounting. Knew it was going to happen. Always does in bachelor herds. So it doesn't happen often. Usually, just by displaying just how large they are, and by clashing with their tusks, they're able to determine which is the more dominant individual. So it doesn't usually entail violent tusk piercing, It does happen, but it's not very common. Amber Coe, you'd like to know, when a young bull is cut out from the breeding herd, is there usually a bachelor herd fairly close by, or do they have to wander to find one? So, there might be one nearby, there might not be one nearby, but what tends to happen, remember that the herds are huge, Well, most of them are fairly big, breeding herds, that is. So there would be several males that are being pushed out at once. So perhaps there's 3 males that are all around 12 years old. They would slowly start to be pushed out. And the way that happens is that they stop receiving these comforts from the females around them, because they become quite troublesome. They want to fight with everybody, but play fight, but they're always causing a bit of a ruckus, and they can be quite irritating to other females because they might try to, you know, test test the urine, you know, trying things like that with the females, and it can get quite irritating for them. So then females will start to actually physically push them, shout at them, and it becomes more and more uncomfortable for them to be in the herd. So that's how it begins. And then they slowly, these groups, or these males that are all about 12 years old, let's say in this example, they start to just form their own little group within the herd. And then slowly that group starts to move towards the fringes of the herd. And then as the herd itself starts moving, there's more distance created between the small bachelor herd that's formed within the breeding herd and the actual breeding herd. So what you might see is you might be at a dam and a breeding herd comes down. And then after they've left, about 2 minutes later, you'll see a small bachelor herd come along. And then you can know that they are a bachelor herd, but they are following their natal herd just a little bit further away from them. And then slowly that distance becomes larger and larger, and then they're a bachelor herd on their own. And soon they would meet up with other bulls and form a herd like this. So this is interesting. This is quite common. This elephant has a floppy ear. You can see that the left ear has flopped forward. So it's just the one on the left that we passed, not these two. It looks like it's just at the mud there on the left. And that kind of injury, it's not really an injury, it's more of a birth defect, is quite common. Hopefully we'll be able to see that ear again before we move off. That's another, so it's this one coming into shot now, it's the other ear is floppy. We see it often, and we usually call elephants have that floppy ear because we know the elephants in the area. And so it's a really easy way to identify them. I mean that in conjunction with other features. And I'm told that you've actually seen this elephant before, so it's one that you've seen around. So that happens when there's a weakening of the different tendons and structures in the ear that cause it to flop over, and you usually see it as a calf, and then they just grow like that, and it seems to not cause too much of a problem. I was so when we started this show, I was so prepared to talk about grasses and geology and trees because it seemed like nothing was around. And this has just been a beautiful experience. We got to really learn about bachelor herds. And we don't see herds like this often, not such large groups of bachelors. Look at that again, how they manage to protect their trunks. They're so aware of their body. It's amazing when then you're near an elephant, when they want to step over a branch or something small on the ground, they're so aware of their dimensions. They're so aware of coming just close enough to not have to touch something, to avoid something. And when they fight like this, that awareness of their body and their trunk is so apparent because they almost never seem to damage it. It's the most important thing to them, right? It's essentially what our hands are to us. It allows them to move and still be able to touch and grab and eat. Whereas other animals can't do that at the same time. They can't walk and eat because they've got to use their mouths to grab things. It's such an important part of any elephant's life, the trunk. So you got to keep it safe. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for your questions and for joining us. I have really had a great time chatting about elephants with you all. I really do love them. I hope that you all love them too. So until next time, bye-bye.